So I'm going to create a program called ReadInput.py. In the header information, I'm going to put a description. We're going to read some information from the user. I'm going to put a reminder up there that when we use the commas, it adds spaces between fields. And when we use the plus sign, it just concatenates them so that there is no spaces. And so let's see if we can read input from the user. So I'm going to ask them what is their name. So I'm going to say name equals, and then instead of setting it to a string literal like George or Harry, I'm going to use the function called input with the parentheses. And inside of these parentheses, I am going to put a string question or a prompt, like what is your name? Question mark. And then we are going to print name. Let's see if we can actually capture the name. So let me run the program and see what we get. What is your name? I'm going to put in a name like Sammy, and it should print back that name that I just keyed in. Now I would be curious to know what data type name is. And we already learned how to display the data type of a variable using the type command. So I'm going to paste that in here. What data type is this? So in my print statement, I'm going to put a label, a string label, comma separated from this type function. I'm going to see what the name, the data type is. So I'll say Sammy, and it's telling me that name is a string. Excellent. That's what I would expect to have happen. So I am going to put a little bit of a comment on here that we are prompting for a name, and we're storing that in a variable. Well, our variable is called name. So how about if we prompt for age? Let me put a comment on here. So I'm going to put it in a variable called age. I'm going to assign it to the input value, and inside of the quotes with the double, or the parentheses with the double quotes, I'm going to say, how old are you? Question mark. I would like to know the data type of age that is coming back. So I'm just going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to print with a header age and the data type. Now I would expect an age data type to be an int, right? So let's run it. I'm going to put in a name like Sammy, and then how old are you? I'm going to put in a number like 30. And when I press enter, I would expect it to tell me that the data type is an int, because I keyed in a 30. But wait a minute, it's telling me that it's a string. So how about if we print something? Maybe it's just a fluke. This says, how about if we print something like George, you're 30 years old. So I'm going to do a printf. We'll do a string format here. Instead of doing the comma separators between all of them, I'm going to copy and paste it in there inside of the double quotes. And then George, I don't want to hard code the name. That was supposed to be a name. So I'm going to replace that with a variable. I use the curly braces to replace it. And inside the curly braces, I'm going to put the variable that I want. And then it says, George, you are 30 years old. I'm pretty sure that that was also a variable called age. So I'm going to replace my hard-coded 30 with the curly braces, and inside of that I'm going to put age, and let's run it now. So this is name. So if I typed in George, how old are you? 45. Now it says, George, you are 45 years old. But wait a minute, age is a string. So I am going to do one more. Let's see if it's just a fluke. So this time I'm going to ask them the price of their cell phone. I'll put this into a variable called price. I'll use the input. And then inside of the double quotes and the parentheses, I'm going to say, and finally, the price of your cell phone. We're going to see the price of their cell phone. Surely this is going to have to come in as a float, right? So how about if we just display the data type of this variable price? So let me run it. The name, Sammy. Okay, how old are you? 45. We've already determined that this is going to be a string. And finally, the price of your phone. if I put in $500, this has got to be a float, right? It's a floating point. But it tells me that it is also a string. So I'm going to print a statement. Maybe I want to say something like, now that I have it, I might want to say something like $1,500 is expensive for a phone. So I want to mirror back what they've given me so that I know that I have it right. So I'm going to use the print with a string format, because I take all the time to type up what it is that I'm looking for as a print statement. I'm just going to take that whole entire print statement and paste it between the double quotes. And then I'm pretty sure that this is a variable that I am going to replace with the curly braces, and the name of the variable is price. So let me run my program one more time. How old are you? We'll say 20. The price of your phone, $1,500. I'll even make it a floating point. And it's coming in as a string. All three of them are coming in as strings. So we're going to see that the nature of this thing called input, let me put this comment in here, is that they always come in as strings. So what if I wanted to add age and price? They're both numbers, right? I'm going to use the plus sign to concatenate them. So let's see what happens if I try to add age and price. Age plus, they're both numbers. They're both supposed to be numbers. Name, how old are you? I'm going to say 10. Price of the cell phone, $500. I would expect it to say 510, but it's not. It concatenated the two of them together. There is the 10, there is the 500. It actually concatenates them because they are both strings. But wait a minute, I would like to add them. So if I wanted to add them, I cannot add two strings together. What should I do so that I can actually add these, what are supposed to be numbers? Well, we can cast them to numbers. How about if we try to cast both of them to numbers? So this time, instead of saying age plus price, I'm going to see if I can cast both of them to, well, let's make them floats. I know price is a float. So do you remember how to typecast? I'm going to put the data type that I want it cast to, if I spell it right. And then inside of the parentheses is the value of the variable that I want to typecast. We'll do the same thing with price. We're going to try to typecast float to a price. Excuse me, typecast price to a float. So I'm going to cast both age and price to a float. And now what would I expect the plus sign to do? So let's run it one last time. How old are you? We're going to say 10. The price of the cell phone, I'm going to try it again with $500. I know the first time it gave me 10, 500 because it concatenated them, but I'm hoping this time that it will give me 510. And that's exactly what it did down here. So we have the ability to capture information from the user using this input function. So let's see if we can modify our temperature conversion program to be a little bit more robust.